quiet seaside town, an evil laid to rest centuries ago, has risen. An abandoned fortress deep in the swamp holds a secret that could save the village or destroy it. Now, a band of adventurers sets out to dig up the wounds of the past and bring the light of day to the roots of ruin. This is Tabletop Gold.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Tabletop Gold, The Roots of Ruin, episode 72. My name is Lars Casteen. Welcome to this episode. Wasn't that a fun one last week? Didn't you have a good time listening to that? Isn't this a good choice that you've made listening to this podcast? I had a good time.
I cried.
It is.
I had a great time.
It's the best choice.
I laughed and I cried.
Let's meet everybody else who's here and discuss their various emotional reactions to fighting a leech monster. Robin Lange is here.
Robin Leach, as a matter of fact.
Robin Leach?
I'm Robin Leach.
Oh, yeah, that was that guy's whole name.
Love it.
Of the rich and disgusting.
An Olympic-sized pool
Filled with bugs.
fed only by the finest diamonds.
Zoe Chernicoff is here.
It's me. I have not been fed by diamonds.
No, you haven't.
You wear them on the soles of your shoes.
David the Tin Man Chernicoff is here.
Good that time.
Okay. Two Robin Leaches. Fantastic. Just what this podcast needed. dueling leeches.
Well,
Yeah.
we've never had one before, so we got to make up for it.
That's true.
Should we all do the Robin Leach voice tonight and just do our characters in that? Just
Right, it's Leech Norman.
I strike the monster.
And that third Robin Leach is, of course, our Matt Humphreys.
Good that time, everybody.
Good
Believe
that
it's
time.
Good hat time, guys.
Good hat time.
Well, whether it's a hat time or that time, I hope you're having a good one, everybody. We're going to get into another exciting and, I believe, pivotal episode of this here podcast. But before we do that, Armat, you mentioned just 12 minutes ago that you had an encounter with a savage beast.
I did. It was a real life.
He had an encounter with a savage beast.
I had to get very excited. It was a real life initiative roll for moment. I was out walking my dog Hank the other night. He kind of took off suddenly into the dark. And I was like, oh, well, maybe this is not a good thing. You know, he's sometimes encountered possums and stuff, but didn't think much of it until I heard him barking and came around the corner, and he had pinned into a bush a skunk and was like circling it and was 3 feet away as it was like getting ready to spray, actually.
Ah, the crepuscular denizens of the suburb.
Exactly.
Wait, So you saw this before the spraying happened?
Luckily, and actually this was the second time we'd encountered, I think, the same skunk. So it's a very well-restrained skunk, I have to say, actually. We were within, 5 feet the first time and 3 feet the second time, and I had a flashlight out and could see its beady little red infernal eyes glowing in the bush. And
Yang Yang Bona, but no, I guess
yeah, exactly.
That's not infernal. Never mind.
Yeah, I should have tried Undercommon though, honestly.
That's
see if
true.
it responded.
Did you do a knowledge check on the skunk?
I did oh God, Hank, get away from there check on
That's
Hank,
probably better.
basically.
It's probably for the best.
It was definitely a somewhere between diplomacy and intimidation, I think.
For who? Hank or the skunk?
Everyone.
Yes.
Let's get a panic check from Armat.
He fails. He's definitely panicking. But yeah, anyway, we'd come around the corner the other night and had run into this crepuscular denizen prior. And luckily, both times I was able to get Hank to like come back to me and lead him away before the spraying could occur. Although this time, as he came into the house, there was a bit of that certain skunky smell, which luckily I took him out. I washed him right away. And the next morning, the skunk smell was gone. So we were actually okay. So we just managed.
Did you use, I feel like I was always told as a child that you bathe in tomato soup if you get hit by a skunk.
That's
I
what
have no
heard
idea
too.
if this is true. And honestly, I don't understand why it would be. But you didn't try. You just
I did
washed
not
him
do
normal.
that.
It's a
The
normal
recipe I got had like baking soda and bleach in it.
What?
Online. Yeah, it's like super intense. Like
Bleach?
Maybe. I think I might be wrong about the bleach.
This feels like a we're just going to smash all the buttons until something works type approach to
yeah.
deodorizing.
Hydrogen peroxide, not bleach. Sorry.
Oh gosh, that's a difference.
Okay.
Yeah, very different.
All right.
Huh.
Sorry. Didn't mean to. Do not bleach your dogs, everybody.
I just want to take a step back. Like, nature's weird, right?
Super
Sure.
weird. Yeah.
Why is there this one animal that just makes us like literally a stinky ass smell?
I mean, he's not the only animal. There are other animals and insects that do this.
Name one.
Vinegaroon.
That's
What?
fake.
Wow,
That's
that
a
was
You
fake
can't
thing.
just
You said
make
a
up a
fake
name.
thing.
It's not. It's not. A vinegaroon. It's another arachnid. It's one of the 3 arachnids that are out there.
Yeah.
It's a cousin of a spider and a scorpion. It looks
Sweet.
kind of like a mix between a spider and a scorpion.
It's weak
And
to fire damage.
when a vinegaroon is threatened, it releases a very strong ammonia smell.
Like bleach?
It's more like hydrogen peroxide.
But it's the smell of it. It's a condensed smell, and it releases the fumes of it. So it smells like vinegar. One of the reasons why it's called vinegaroon. And it's an incredibly
One of the
strong
reasons.
smell.
The other
that-
reason accounts for the rune part.
No, I'm saying it's 3. I don't know the exact etymology of the name. I actually once, when I was working at the Natural History Museum, someone was showing me this not insect, this arachnid, and the smell shocked me so much that we were leaning over the tank that it was in, and the smell was so strong that I'd forgotten that there was a shelf above our heads, and I wiped my head up because the smell was
Oh,
so
no.
strong and almost knocked myself out because I
no.
smacked my head on the shelf because I was
Oof.
so shocked by the smell of this critter. So, vinegaroon.
All right. Show of hands. Who thinks Robin's lying?
That was my part. That was my 2 truths and a lie.
Your lie is to make up an entire third arachnid.
Well, shockingly, it turns out vinegaroons are really common in Texas as I've been looking them up. It's found
What?
Yeah. It's found primarily in West Texas, especially in the Trans-Pecos region, but has been reported as far north as the Texas Panhandle and in South Texas. So,
All right.
so maybe it was not a skunk at all. It was a vinegaroon. I
It's a
think
giant
an
vinegaroon.
absurdly
does it.
large vinegaroon.
I'm Googling
Oh.
stinky animals. So I'm now on the skunk page of Wikipedia. Basically, you've got one little group at the bottom. It seems to be the everything else group. So you got your hooded skunk and your striped skunk in there.
Sure.
Then you got a group which is various types of spotted skunk. Then you've got a group which is various types of hog-nosed skunks. And then your final group, those would be your stink badgers.
Shut it down. Incorrect.
Yep.
A stink badger? This feels like we were having a discussion yesterday when we were right before we recorded about the dialect quiz from the New York Times. Like, I feel like stink badger is just what they call skunks in part.
It's like
of the United
polecat.
States.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you got right there is a stink badger.
That's a stink badger.
That's a stink badger if I ever seen one.
And the scientists believed them and said, this seems like an entirely
It's a
new
whole
animal. I
other-
should
yeah.
probably just write this down.
My mama always said, you got a polecat, stink badger soon to follow.
Soon to follow. Right behind it.
Right behind it.
Well, you know what's right behind this conversation is an opportunity for me to say thank you to everybody who's left a review of Tabletop Gold at their podcast app of choice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Such as this review on Podcast Addict, the preferred, the official, the potential future sponsor. Yeah. Podcast Addict. Metosis says, this is the first actual play podcast I have heard with an openly anti-fungus stance, and I finally feel seen.
False. False. I am pro-fungus. One of us. One of us.
Wait a minute.
All of us. All of us.
This is a huge turn in our skunk stance, which is liable to endanger this review. I'm worried. I don't want to lose any stars.
One
Yeah.
star.
What is our
dots
skunk
for-
stance? Did we actually take a stance on skunks?
Oh, okay. Let's go around the horn. Robin, pro skunk, con skunk, or anti skunk. Sorry, the opposite of pro is anti in this
Anti-skunk,
situation.
pro-stink badger.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A
Carve
shade
out.
of gray.
A carve out.
Zoe,
Stink
pro
badger
skunk,
car-
anti skunk.
Pro skunk, anti stink badger.
Whoa.
Okay.
Zoe.
The
Always the
tension
contrarian.
rises.
Always the contrarian.
I respect skunks. Like they're doing a thing and they are doing it well. There, I
I
said my
agree.
piece.
And nobody else does it except for this fictional vinegar
this other
bug.
fake thing we've manufactured for the show.
David, pro skunk, anti skunk.
Sorry, I was just finishing up the quiz. It turns out I'm a skunk Oreo.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Oh, of course.
Armat, how
Yep.
about you? Pro skunk, anti skunk.
Pro mustelid. I think anti skunk.
I'm pro both. I think they're all animals, and you gotta thumbs up.
Love all
thumbs up to
animals?
the animals. You figured it out. You got there.
So you're
Way to go.
pro-animal, anti-fungus.
Yeah. Oh my
Definitely.
goodness. Yes, of course I am.
Yes, that is the best summary of Lars maybe I've ever heard.
For sure.
Cuts right to the heart of the issues.
100%.
Yeah. Put that on my tombstone.
Those are the two main things about the man.
Okay, friends. Enough of this nonsense. Let's get into it. Let's play our game. You're standing in a private lounge hundreds of feet below the base of the ancient lighthouse Gauntlet, where, presumably, its former owner, Belcora Haravex, conducted her private business. Just moments ago, you managed to kill the last leeches containing the consciousness of Volek Azrene, Belcora's former right-hand man. And now, as the hum the lighthouse has been issuing since this morning fills the room, you're left to tend to your wounds, examine the things Volek kept here, and investigate the source of a strange scream you hear intermittently mixing with that hum coming from the room's eastern wall. So yeah, 4 of you are here. You have just fired off the last of these acid splashes that took the final bits of leech out of the room.
Bravo, Trill.
Yes.
I don't need to heal a lot, but I kind of feel like as a group we should quickly, lick our wounds and
Yeah.
get ready for action.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vadim could definitely use some healing after that fight.
Lars, is there a bucket or something in this room that has hero points? Because I could use
Yeah, that'd be
all
right.
of those.
Trill could just bathe in some hero points, maybe? That'd
Just
be great.
one.
Norman and Trill examined this bathtub and find it disappointingly empty.
Empty
Shame.
of hero points. All
No
right.
3% hero point solution.
Okay, so Armat, yeah, let's talk healing.
Oh, yeah. I guess it's 10 minutes per 18 hit points. So, if you guys could let me know how much you're down, we can probably just calculate.
I could also do
the
one treat
time.
wounds on someone if it's helpful. It always is when I help.
Weirdly, I'm at the 23 HP with 23 armor class.
Oh,
This is huge.
Anyway, just saying some weirdness is going on, you guys. Jim Carrey is actually just kind of right over
Is
my
that
shoulder
who's screaming,
right
do you
now.
think? Is it going to be
I-
Jim Carrey?
I don't see who else it could be.
The voice from the other room keeps yelling, "Somebody stop me!" And
Oh.
Yeah, it's a real tonal clash coming from the other room. Probably best not to go in there at this point, honestly.
Well, in theory, I could use 2 lay on hands. 1 would do most of the way.
So why don't we spend half an hour and that'll get us pretty close.
Okay.
So that's actually 40 minutes because you're going to need to spend 10 minutes getting your first focus point back.
Right.
So by the time Vadim and Mag are done healing themselves up to this level that you've just discussed, it's right around 11:50 in the morning. What do you think Norman and Trill were doing as Vadim was repeatedly channeling Pharasma's healing energy?
So Trill's perfectly. Trill didn't lose any hit points. Trill didn't need any healing. So Trill's been going around the walls, focusing mainly on trying to figure out where a secret door might be, from where that scream could have come from. So really checking out the walls, looking for passages, anything hidden in this room.
Trill sees no such secret door.
No, it means I had a bad roll.
Can Norman go check it out?
Sure. Norman searches around the room as well as Vadim
In his
and
quest
Mag.
for hero points, he happens to check and see if there's a secret door.
Just a quick break.
So Norman absolutely sees the signs of a secret door behind this painting of a swamp. But Norman also finds a few interesting things on the desk.
Ooh.
There are papers covering the desk that look like Volek's notes. Norman's able to tell that there's a strong sense of intelligence there, but the things he's writing about and the things that he's describing in these notes are so left of center, so far afield, so strange that they just sort of mostly they just appear to be, the rantings of somebody whose connection to their sanity disappeared long, long ago. But hidden within those notes, you see detailed blueprints of the top 3 levels of this dungeon that you've explored. Most of the areas that you see in these blueprints, as Norman, like if you run your fingers around trying to connect where you've been and what's represented on the map, you see that in that room 1 floor up where you saw that red eyeball in the wall. There's some small area behind there that seems like it contains more of these small teleportation runes. Like you see these runes drawn onto the map. But something that really catches your eye is in that large room north of the restricted collection on the 3rd floor again, where you saw Nikazarin, the leader of the ghoul cult, building that grotesque flesh golem to become Belcora's new body. There's another small secret room at the far western side of that chamber that you missed.
You missed a secret room.
And you see on the blueprints that this looks like a very meticulously hidden room. You also see on the back of the chair facing the desk, you see a heavy black traveling cloak. And around the papers on the desk, you also spot a number of scrolls. Norman is able to identify the first of these scrolls very easily as a scroll of comprehend language. It casts the spell comprehend language, which you can use to hear or read a language and understand it magically.
Well, I won't need that. I already understand them all.
You see a scroll also containing the spell paralyze.
Ooh.
What spell casting ability does that come from?
Both of these are in the occult list, which is why you're able to just recognize it automatically.
I love that for me. Thank you.
And the last scroll that you see here is a scroll for a spell that you just saw being cast repeatedly. It's a spell called Worm's Repast, which is a spell that manifests maggots onto people's skin that then sickens and makes them flat-footed and just wrecks their whole day. A deeply messed up spell that you get the impression Azrene himself is like the innovator of.
Let me take a look at that. That's kind of fascinating.
Gross, Trill. Super gross.
I'm going to say just mechanically, this is not a common spell, so it is typically against the rules for you to learn it unless I allow you to. I think the fact that you have this scroll tells me that if somebody wants to learn this spell at some point, like using downtime or using level up, etc., I'll let you do it in exchange for destroying the scroll.
Trill's hair starts sparkling.
You also find on the desk, casting some strange light onto these papers as you're sort of leafing through this, you find a kind of strange looking lantern that you can tell has some sort of magical something or other to it. But in order to identify it, somebody's going to need to make a crafting check.
Mag?
On it. Let's get to know the lantern a little better.
So Mag takes a look at this lantern, doesn't have a great sense of what it is. It seems like maybe once you get it back to town and really spend some time on it, you'll be able to figure out what it is. But you do get the sense that this is something unique that Volek kept close by his side. And Norman in his search, like, really gets the feeling like he's turning this room upside down. He finds that on one of the desk's legs, there's like a little piece of wood that looks like it's carved out and then reset back onto the leg itself.
Oh, Norman, you picked up some tricks.
I always do.
If Norman manipulates that strange-looking section on the desk's leg, he sees that it is a secret compartment, and he's able to touch it with his thumb and slide it down, and there's a small open area hollowed out on the interior of the leg.
He sticks his mouth in there like a little kid.
Okay, and what you taste is the telltale sign of a small iron key.
Salty.
Like a very small little key.
Num, 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 num.
Oh, it's shiny, though, and he holds it up to the light.
Is there a symbol on that key? Because I know that this AP loves to match symbols with doors.
Yeah, you don't see that there is any sort of symbol on the key. It's just sort of a small, nondescript key. Like, no, it doesn't look like it fits into a full-sized door. It's not like a heavy thing. It feels like it fits into a smaller kind of lock.
It's for a mailbox, Norman announces, unaware if that's true or not.
Can we take a real close look at the desk and see if there are any small or maybe even hidden compartments that would require a key?
You guys have absolutely turned this desk all the way upside down. You don't see any indication of anything like that on the desk.
What about in the bathtub?
Talk to me about bathtub drawers.
The bathtub has a lock in it. You unlock the bathtub.
And that's it. You win the game. It's over.
Nice.
This has been a Tabletop Gold production. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Mag retires to Absalom. Yeah.
Well, let's go check that out, right? Let's go see who's screaming. Let's go meet Jim.
Who's opening this secret door?
Mag will open the secret door with her not-so-secret hand.
So Mag's hand reaches around the edges of this painting and finds a little bit of a catch, like a little metal handle that she pulls back on, and a seam opens up on the wall, and the door swings back into the room, showing you an alcove that then leads into a large circular chamber. The walls of this room are smooth and gray. There's a flickering, nauseating ribbon of pale blue light churning at the center of the room.
Found it.
Where the light touches the ceiling, the stone bubbles as if it were infected flesh.
Oh.
And below, this light bathes a thrashing dwarf with a large red beard bound onto a metal table, his body covered in blisters. And this pale blue light filling the room is punctuated by rapid flashes of blinding white. And if you keep your attention trained on the dwarf, between the flashes, you see his eyes either clenched shut in abject pain or wide open in mindless ecstasy. The sound here is this staccato blend of scream and moan that, as you relax your ears slightly, combines into a discordant hum.
We've got to free him from there. That can't be good.
Why is it doing that to him? It's not supposed to do that. And Norman steps forward. Are you okay in there?
Mag puts a hand on Norman's shoulder to make sure Norman doesn't just, run headlong into the light, as has been his habit.
So Norman shouts, "Are you okay?" Mag grabs Norman's shoulder, and this dwarven man strapped down to this metal table is just flashing back and forth between this scream and this moan, and he's completely oblivious to anything you are possibly doing here in the room.
Can Vadim try to free him from his restraints and try and extricate him from this blue light without touching it?
Vadim, taking a look at these restraints, sees that there are 4 manacles at one at each corner of this table. And on each of these manacles, drenched in this blue light, you see a small keyhole. Vadim, looking at this table, is able to get the sense that trying to open any of these locks is going to require at least putting your hand directly into the path of the light.
And Norman feels Mag's shoulder on his hand, but he feels for the key he just stuck in his pocket and goes up to the dwarf's bottom right foot. He goes, "Well, I think this is the only way." And he goes to put the key into the lock.
Mag follows right behind. Behind.
Vadim will be right up there next to
This
Norman
time,
as well.
Norman, I have your back.
So Norman, sticking his hand into the blue light to use the key on the lock, on the first of these 4 locks, the rest of you see this blue light shining directly onto Norman, and it's at that moment that I need Norman to make a reflex save.
23.
So Norman's able to twist his arm slightly out of the way to avoid taking every point of this 24 damage that blasts onto him from this negative energy. But Norman feels this light wash over him, taking 12 hit points away from him. And it is at that very moment that I need you to... Yeah. Roll for initiative.
Just me or everyone?
Everyone.
Could I roll diplomacy since he's trying to interact with the light?
You could roll thievery because
I like
you're
that.
using your hands on something. This is a sort of weird situation. Norman just got blasted with this light, takes this damage, feels this manacle unlock, and we're in initiative. Why is that? Norman doesn't see any sign of anything sinister happening in this room. You don't see anything trying to attack you. As far as Norman knows, there's no reason to have rolled for initiative. So, Zoe, you can have Norman delay if you would like to, or you can waste your turn.
That was such a good initiative roll. That's so sad. I got a 20 on the die for a 32. That might be my best initiative roll ever.
Definitely.
It's a shame.
It's a bummer. There's
but I think you're right. In character, he would have no, he just thinks he's going around gonna undo 4 locks. So I think he's at the bottom or delayed for now until someone explains to him what's happening.
Totally. There's this like what we're dealing with right now is this like real edge case initiative situation where there's like a video made by this content creator, Pathfinder 2 content creator called How It's Played, that describes like, hey, what do you do with initiative when you can't see the assailant? And the best case scenario is like, just tell your players to delay. Just like, it sucks to, and the example in that video is like, what if they roll critically on their initiative? Doesn't it feel bad then to not be able to do anything?
Here's a
with
good
it?
answer for that person. It does. It feels,
it does. And
Like a real bummer.
it feels like a real bummer. The best compromise that I have though is for Norman to delay, and it's gonna be the same situation with Trill and Mag.
So it wouldn't make sense for me as Robin, though, playing Trill to inspire some courage in this awkward moment.
I don't think so. You just saw Norman try to open a lock. That's all that you
And
really
Norman
know is
get
going on.
Slammed by the light.
Just a little
You weren't
scratch.
expecting. Are you telling me that Trill was not expecting Norman to get hurt by the light?
Yeah, I guess Trill was.
I feel like it's more like a trap than a fight in anyone's mind,
Yeah.
right? Like some of the things we've run into that have just done like a one-off little bit of damage.
Okay, I'll delay.
And same for Mag. Mag, David, are you okay with Mag delaying?
Yeah, to the extent I understand what's happening, that seems totally fine to me.
Great. Okay, so that awkward little bit of initiative nonsense resolved. Here's what happens immediately after Norman unlocks this manacle and takes this small amount of negative damage. Trill sees to her immediate left a little crackle of electricity in the air, and then suddenly she feels electricity coursing through her body, and she sees the faint shimmering electrical outline of a glowing, flaming skull as something invisible right next to her starts just coursing visible electricity, making this creature, which I'm just going to tell you right now, is a will-o'-the-wisp.
I was about to say, it sounds like Trill stuff. Hey, guys.
And this attack comes straight at Trill as this electricity runs all over her. Trill is flat-footed to this.
Ugh.
Which means that this 20 that I just rolled just barely hits because Trill can't see where this is coming from.
So, since Trill is flat-footed, so that she's got a -2 to her armor class, is that it?
Correct.
Dang.
Yes. So Trill takes 16 points of electricity damage as all of you see this outline of this creature appear right next to Trill, making it hidden to you. You can see where it is, but you can't see it directly. For you to target it, you'd have to give yourself a flat check to target it. As Trill, electricity courses through her body, she hears this horrific laugh. And here comes an intimidation check as it attempts to demoralize Trill. That's a 16 versus Trill's will DC.
It just says +10.
Great.
So that means my will DC is 20.
Correct.
Great. So that worked out fine for me.
Yes, your will DC of 20 means that Trill is unaffected by this menacing laugh. And then the will-o'-wisp in the room tries to stealthily sneak away. And all of you see this will-o'-wisp vanish again into the air. And you lose track of where it is. It is now either Norman, Trill, or Mag's turn.
Trill would like to go.
Sure.
Trill would like to go. Okay. This is
So Trill,
Trill
her
stuff.
teeth chattering from this surge of electricity running through her body, takes the action.
Trill, with her lute in hand, strums the chords are a little messed up because she's kind of shaking from all that electricity, but she just goes, "Oh, hell no!" Because we all know she hates wisps. wisps are her vowed enemy. So the first thing Trill's going to do is linger in composition to inspire courage for everyone, including herself, because she's terrified of these things. She needs to inspire her own courage. And that's not a great one. So that linger in composition fails.
So 1 round of Inspire Courage, and you keep the focus point.
Fantastic. So everyone still gets the inspire courage at least.
And just a reminder, if something is invisible, you can take the Seek action if you want to, or if you have any spells that reveal invisible creatures, that's something you could do.
That's what Trill's going to do. So with her last 2 actions, Trill is going to cast Fairy Fire. Trying to think the best spot to make a 10-foot burst.
Keep in mind it did move.
Yeah.
So
this is where Trill's going to place it. So Trill places a 10-foot burst a little further away, hoping that will reveal where it moved to.
So Trill, her music fills the room, and you see this heatless fire surround the will-o-wisp that is attempting to hide on the far eastern side of the table, which means that this creature is now concealed rather than hidden. And for that, I think Trill gets a hero point.
Okay. So remind us what concealed means again?
DC 5 flat check to attack rather than a DC 11.
But we have a general vague idea of where it is now, our characters.
You can see it. It's just like you see this outline of heatless fire surrounding it. So you can see it, but it's kind of like looking at a hologram of the thing.
Fantastic. And Trill
snarls at it.
So with Trill's turn done, your courage inspired and this fairy fire affecting the will-o-wisp, it is now either Norman or Mag's turn.
I think the minute that thing becomes visible, Mag would rush to action for sure. Mag will move to a spot that sets up a nice flank for Vadim and or Norman if they want. Second action, Mag will strike with her sword. And that is a 22 to hit.
And that misses. You even without the concealed, Mag's sword comes down, whooshing through the air.
Not a great roll. All right. I want to grab this wisp. Now, y'all, should I use assurance in athletics or should I successfully grab the wisp?
Toss up.
This is none of my business. I'm not going to chime in.
Oh my gosh.
Well, with assurance,
do you want to complain about it?
Kind of.
I mean,
with assurance, I think at this point it's an automatic 19.
It's a 19.
It's always less than we say it's going to be. It'll mysteriously become an 11 by the time you actually do it.
Now, I don't imagine this wisp has a ton of fortitude. So it seems like this ought to work, but it's also a level 1,000,000 wisp. So maybe it has 39 fortitude. I don't really know how this works.
Not to interrupt your thought process, but
go ahead.
I do want to let you know that the last time assurance worked to grab or trip somebody, I did the rules wrong and had you testing against the wrong DC. So when you successfully pushed Vadim away from Carmen Rajani,
right,
by targeting Vadim's terrible fortitude DC,
it should have been targeting Rajani's.
It shouldn't have worked even in that situation.
The only time that it's worked, it shouldn't have worked. What is the point of this thing? It does give you assurance. It gives you assurance that you're wasting an action. What the math on this must be broken. What is I guess it's not for doing things in combat. It's for making sure that you can pick up a rock when you need to. What is it?
It's pretty good for medicine checks.
That's true.
Ludicrous. All right, I'm gonna grab it with a good old fashioned athletics check.
Okay, give me that athletics check, and we're gonna take a 5 off because it is your second attack.
Right. And then I'm going to retrain.
See, here we are. We're going to wind up at 11. I'm just saying. It happens every time.
Zoe calling David's shot.
I'm going to head back to town after this and retrain this stupid feat.
Hey, look, I used one feat I took 3 levels ago last time and it didn't work, so I feel you, is my point.
Was it assurance in occultism?
No, it was the ability to trick anything magical, which I've been unable to use until I failed at it and broke a wand.
You didn't break it. It's fine.
Whatever.
The wand is fine.
I'm not going to need to get anything else wet. What does it matter?
This is a stupid game. 26 to grab.
26 to grab, which is actually a 21 to grab, is enough for you to wrap your arms around this will-o-wisp.
I love this game. It's
Can I
awesome.
ask a question? Would a 19 have been enough?
No, it needed a 20. And with that little bit of rules minutia, it is now Norman's turn.
All right, so this thing is grabbed, which means it's flat-footed, correct?
Correct.
Norman quickly notches off 2 arrows at this thing.
Yeah, and you see that this wisp has minor cover because you're shooting right over the head of this dwarf with the large red beard.
That's a 31 and a 27 to hit. Bam, bam.
Both of those, bam, bam, absolutely hit. And you can go ahead and add your sneak attack to both of these.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You can roll 4d6 and add that.
33 points of damage.
33 points of damage. 2 quick blasts from Norman. 2 quick blasts from Norman, stepping away from the lock and hitting a weak spot on this will-o-wisp twice. Takes most of its hit points away as this will-o-wisp is now badly injured after Norman's strike.
And Norman pulls out a scroll.
Oh, I'm sorry. Norman, Zoe, I need you to roll 2 flat checks and beat a 5 with both of them, because this creature is still concealed.
14 and a 16. Whew.
Oh,
That's
okay.
nice.
Okay.
Would have been a real turn there had those
Sure.
gone south.
Sure would have.
And with that, it is now Vadim's turn.
Vadim strides up to flank with Mag and then launches immediately into a swift, precise double slice. So that is a 27 to hit with vigilance, with a 7 on the flat check, and a 17 to hit with the dagger of venom, and a 12 on the flat check. But
So Vadim manages to connect with Vigilance only because of the combination of Mag holding it and Vadim having his courage inspired.
awesome. Thank you, guys. Ooh, bad roll. 7 damage.
7 damage to this will-o-wisp, which is now flickering even under the weight of this fairy fire. It's the beginning of round 2. This pillar of light is filling the room. Norman and Trill are set up on the western side of this table with this dwarf right in the center of the light. And then on the eastern side of the room, Mag holding on for dear life with this will-o-wisp as Vadim is cutting precisely at it. The will-o-wisp looks at Mag, and just this eerie, otherworldly cackle fills the room, just as it tries to intimidate Mag. That's probably pretty good. That's a 26 versus Mag's will DC.
Yeah, that'll happen.
So Mag becomes frightened 1 as this cackling skull laughs in her face, and Mag then feels electricity coursing through her stupid body.
Hey.
Sorry.
Impressive.
Editorializing.
That was
Unnecessary.
harsh.
I'm just very excited to do something with this gentleman here. I rolled a 31 on my attack.
That is a critical zap.
By how much is that a critical zap?
Only, to quote the great man, because Mag is frightened 1, is that a critical hit on Mag.
So Mag takes 22 points of electricity damage as she is filled with what various students of electricity would call juice.
Like corn.
Mag's
Word.
juicing.
It's what Victor Frankenstein used to create his monster.
She's corn. She's got the juice.
Boo. It's now another attack to Mag.
Oh, okay. All right, let's keep it rolling here then.
I rolled a 21 on my attack.
21 is Mag's AC, and I assume the tie goes to you because it always does.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
Only because this creature frightened Mag does that also hit. Meaning Mag is in store for another 13 points of electricity damage
This
as
is
she
nonsense.
gets quickly jolted twice.
And I'm
wow.
gonna say that as those jolts are going through
Hey,
her body, it
Vadim?
Glimpse, please. Thank you. God, it's been
wow.
so long since I've had an opportunity
Yeah,
to
we
use
tried
glimpse.
last
I'm
time.
like,
We couldn't.
I know. Yeah, let's glimpse that, please.
Okay, so the amount of damage goes down by 7, and this Will-O-Wisp is now enfeebled to 2.
Oh, it's not going to give up being evil and just quit the whole fight?
I think I would rather do stupefied too, if I could, please.
All right.
Thank you.
So you see the jaw of this skull go slack as it becomes an idiot.
and I'm going to say that as the electricity is jolting through Mag, part of the effect of that is that her arms, which are wrapped, or like her arm that's wrapped around it, grabs it tighter. That like it's the muscles tense, and so she's kind of dumbfounded and weakened, but holding on to it still.
So as Mag cinches this fairy fire afflicted wisp closer to herself, it is now Trill's turn.
Trill sees her sworn enemy attacking her best friend.
How dare you? How very dare you?
It's sworn enemy stuff.
Very much so.
Yeah, so Trill will use just a first level. We don't have a feeling we're going to be able to rest soon. So, Trill will use a third level spell slot here and use that magic missile. Third level magic missile on this guy here.
Just this dude.
So that was in total 4 plus 3 plus 5 plus 3 plus 2 plus 4.
Let's call it 80.
Is that more than 10?
Yeah, that's more than 10.
So Trill, swoop, 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 6 magic missiles fly across the room, and you pass the concealment check, and the wisp dissipates in midair as a faintly glowing, laughing skull imprints upon the wall behind Mag.
And Trill walks over to where that skull is left, that imprint of the skull is left in the wall, and she spits on it.
Phew. That's right.
Then shudders a little bit from like the remains of the electric shock that she got from it, because she's still a little damaged from it.
And while she's doing that, Norman sort of quickly casts about and goes to shove the key in the second lock. We'll figure this out, friend.
And Norman's arm again plunges into the keyhole. No, just what am I saying? Norman's
it's a
arm.
big keyhole on this one. The little key will not fit.
My poor brain. I'm trying so hard. Norman's hand plunges into the blue light once more, and he's once again subjected to the effects of this light, and should make a reflex save to avoid 22 points of damage.
22 is his reflex save.
No, 27 is his reflex.
Oh,
looks like
sorry.
27.
That's confusing. 27. None of them are 23, Jim Carrey. Okay.
So Norman manages to twist out of the way slightly and winds up taking only 11 points of negative damage.
And I think he's like in shock. He's not processing this right. So he goes to run to the next corner. And I think he's just like not fully processing.
Could Mag aid in these, even just by way of absorbing some of the damage? Like, what Mag is thinking about is that this thing keeps zapping Norman, and she's fine with, understands that this has some significance for Norman. Norman needs to finish the job here, but could she at least like help it not hurt Norman so much?
Mag searches her mind for anything she could do, but ultimately she knows that whoever tries to undo this lock, they're taking their lives into their own hands.
Could Vadim come lay on hands?
Absolutely. Vadim lays on hands and restores 18 hit points to Norman.
Love it.
And Mag takes out a healing potion just in case.
So Norman goes to do the third lock with the key.
And again, you feel this light washing over you, draining your life force away. Another reflex save.
That's just an 18.
That's still a pass, meaning that Norman takes 6 more points of negative damage.
All right. And he sort of looks back at Fatim and he's like kind of absently like, thanks, man. Appreciate it. And he goes to do
Of course.
he's kind of like, there's like a sheen on his forehead. He's going to do the fourth one. And I think as he goes to put the key in the fourth one, if you were looking closely, like his hand has now become a gray furry paw from so much contact with this light.
And as Norman's getting the last key and Trill's trying to get a better look at this dwarf on the table, and she's starting to realize that she knows that she's starting to see some familiarities to who she thinks that this is, because she's remembering that they were sent to look for a dwarf at one point.
And as Trill has that moment of recognition, Norman's hand slips again into the blue light. Another reflex save.
And that one's a 25.
So again, Norman passes the reflex save, meaning that he's going to take half of this 20 points of damage. And as that last blast of blue light washes over Norman, his newly furry paw burning in the air underneath this negative light, that Norman loses consciousness and collapses to the floor.
Mag kneels down and pours the healing potion down Norman's throat.
And in the moments while that's happening, as Norman hits the ground, silver fur has covered his body, up his neck and down his legs, and his nose is elongated. And by the time he hits the ground, he's Ao, and it's Ao who falls to the floor, twitching slightly, transported away from herself, or maybe to herself, and the blue light flickers through parts of her body, taking some crucial part of her and slingshotting it away into the chasm of darkness beyond. There's so much darkness. And then she feels someone reaching out to her slowly. Paw slightly larger than her own, suddenly childlike fuzzy one. Above, it's her brother, Greisel. She feels herself lifted halfway from the ground, heels of her feet in contact with the floor. She has no choice but to stare at him, to take in his low, quiet words. Did it again, you freak. You won't listen to me. You just keep doing it, even when everyone wants you to stop. One minute you are sitting at the kitchen table staring down at your hands instead of your homework with that weird, intense look in your eyes. Next thing you know, your stupid notebook was flaming gold and floating. By the time I got to you, shouting at you to cut it out, you never listen. Just passed out flat on the ground. Why can't you just be like the rest of us? You're making Mom and Dad so sad, and you don't even care, you little weird Pyro. Can't even control it, cursed golden child. They stay up at night whispering about you. If I didn't know better, I'd say you weren't even a real part of the family. But all they do is talk about you. And then he lets her small silver paw go, and she falls quickly and suddenly. Her head sharply meeting the ground. The cold black comes up quickly. Again. Her elegant snout falls to the side, and when the jolt of pain passes sufficiently for her to open her eyes, she's struck by the realization that time has passed. Years, maybe 5 or 6. She doesn't lament the passage of time or wish she could undo it. Remembering like a worn scar what those years held, more empty black. Someone else's darkness imposed on her. Stasis with flashes of something big and bold, but unforgivable. Sitting for consultations in interminable waiting room after waiting room, unable to get enough real light in to figure out what should be next, or who she'd actually be wherever that is. This time, the second instant when her eyes open, the light is bright and foreign. The sheets beneath her are cool and crisp, and she shivers slightly. Her parents are staring at her from small green clinical chairs. There's a faint swirling smell of singeing around the edges of her fingers and oddly a charred strip of fur right above her elbow. Her parents look worried and tired, but also just behind their furrowed brows and their brown, warm eyes. Vaguely disgusted. She's other, incomprehensible. She is who she is, what she's capable of, and she wills her eyelids further apart. Her mother smiles, a small, tight smile, and steps toward her, beige paws clasped. Oh, you're up! Good, sweetie. We were so worried about you. How are you doing? Are you feeling better? They gave you something new this time. They swore that it would help. You'll just need to take it 4 times a day, and... Here her mother stops, casting her eyes back to her father, looking for him to fill in the silence. That's right! Just get back to yourself! His slightly too loud voice prattles. It's strong, and they're just testing it out, but I think you'll find that things are much easier this way. You'll be happier, hun, he says uncomfortably, rubbing his broad brown paws back and forth on his thick linen pants. And yet he seems sold on whatever it is he's trying to tell her. Everything feels thick and heavy and much too bright. She closes her eyes, willing the light and the overeagerness of these two people who will not listen away. Moments drip by and she feels their bodies frozen, waiting, hoping. She wants so badly to be somewhere else, somewhere she can be with the stars and the welcoming warm black sky and the dancing fire that creeps in to visit her, to stare back at her when she stares at the mirror, to dance from her fingers if she can be careful enough. Only Norman has been able to take it elsewhere, to walk into the world and dazzle with it, to show it off, to use it for something. Ao can't. Ao is in this bed. Her thoughts are slow and drippy. Her parents' stares intense, moments more or maybe hours. Then she hears her mother speak whisper to her father. She'll be fine. We just have to give it a little more time. We'll go back to the office now. No point in using more time off while she's recovering. We'll all be back together, good as new, soon. The thick, suffocating blanket of blue that seems to be crouched in the corners of her mind pounces, thrusting sleep upon her. This darkness that is nothing like the night she so often stands out in, wondering at the sky why she's been put here now with these people, wondering why she doesn't have any of Norman's courage to just go be somewhere else, to be someone else, to be someone real. The words someone and anyone roll around in her mind, tumbling past each other until neither makes any sense. Blue turns to black, and her eyes snap open again. Not too many years later, but also a lifetime. The bubbling flesh of the ceiling above her, and a much crisper, more painful blue pierces into her. It seems to crackle, a set of demands and threats that she thought she knew. She thought she could answer or maybe control. And she hears it say clearly, "Whoever you are, I have what you want. I am what you need." And the pain tears back through her again. Trying to retain some bit of herself against it, she finds 2 small, fierce words escape her lips. Just 4 letters, and also everything contained within them. I'm Ao. And her paws curl tight, determined. The velvety darkness is there alongside this horror. She leans into it, ready.
I'm so creeped out.
Yeah.
Just normal kid stuff.
Oh my God. That was amazing. Thank you.
What a nightmare.
What a nightmare.
What a nightmare,
Amazing.
right?
So, from Mag's perspective, I think all of that probably happens just in a blink of an eye, right?
Like while Mag is getting the potion, I feel like all that.
So Mag manages to get the potion into now Ao's mouth. And Ao's eyes pop open again. And you see that the dwarf is lying there still, even though unmanacled. He's still lying there helpless. And Trill said that she had a sense, or Robin, you said that Trill had a sense of who this person is when you were just looking at him.
Yeah, Trill hasn't even noticed what has gone on with Ao, Norman, Ao, through all of this, because as the manacles have fallen off, Trill's walked up closer and has gone up all the way to the edge of the blue light. has gotten closer and closer and has started to try and place that face and says,
I think I've seen him before. Or someone who looks like him at the Rowdy Rockfish?
and she starts to realize that she's pretty sure this is the son of the proprietress of the Rowdy Rockfish who had gone missing. And we had been told the last time we had seen him was walking off towards the lighthouse. Am I right, Lars?
Walking off towards the lighthouse with a man with a cloak.
Ah, extra detail, yes.
Like the one we just found in the other room.
Oh, right.
Good
That's
memory.
Exactly right. You're able to look at this dwarf on the table and see that this is Lasda Vankervale. And he is still, as this strobe light is flashing, Lasda shifts from agony to ecstasy and back as you blink your eyes. It's a very difficult thing to wrap your head around, but he is unmoored from the table.
As she starts saying his name, Ladsta? Ladsta, can you hear us?
And as long as he's in this light, there's nothing that you're able to do to get reach of him.
So I think Vadim will check quickly on Ao and say, Mac, do you have her? And then he'll come over to Trill and help pull Lasta from the table.
So both of you, if you are pulling Lasda from the table, need to make this reflex
Trill
save.
has not put her hand in because Trill's not quite got the constitution. And she knows she can't probably withstand the power of the light.
So Vadim, it looks like you're on your own as you need to make a reflex save to pull Lasda down off of the table.
Yeah, no problem. That is a 28.
Which is a critical success.
Ooh.
Vadim is able to work his hands between the flashes of light and in a blink of an eye send Lasda crashing down onto the floor. At which point you hear this dwarf on the floor just start to like just sputter and pant and try to catch his breath. And at the exact same moment, in this moment when Vadim is just with incredible grace whipping this dwarf off of the table, suddenly in this room, this necromantic blue energy vanishes.
Oh, I thought it was about to turn into something terrible. We were
Same.
going to have to fight again. This is a huge
Totally
relief.
agree.
I'm going to be honest.
It just stops?
It just
It like needed to feed off of someone.
stops.
He was the source.
Trill kind of freezes after feeling the sudden like vacuum release of necromantic magic and almost frantically starts looking around the room to try and figure out what happened.
You could give me, let's see.
An occult check?
Yeah, I think an occultism check would probably do the job. Give me a blind occultism check.
Oh, cool. That sounds great. There's a blind occultism for you.
So Trill takes a look at Lasda, searches through everything she knows about this light.
I hate it when you say it like that.
What do you mean?
When you start off that way, I feel like it sounds like I don't know anything. I can't come up with anything.
And she's the biggest idiot you've ever seen.
She falls down dead.
She failed so critically.
First off, Trill hears that humming is gone. And so the idea that the humming that you heard was this combination of this scream and this moan from Lasda, Trill thinks about what it is that she's seen and realizes that this blue light was feeding off of Lasda's energy. But Lasda is built like a brick shithouse, this guy. He is so sturdy and so thick, and you can see that some magic has been done to his body to repair his body and to bring him new energy and to make him feel good, presumably by Azrene.
And she's like looking his body over, and she sees he's been healed multiple times.
And he is just so sturdy that Trill is able to get the sense that Lazda has been used
As a rechargeable necromantic battery.
as an automatically recharging necromantic battery.
Honestly, this is very green energy.
Yes.
He's the Energizer
We should all
Bunny.
take a note from this. He's the Energizer Bunny.
The Energizer Dwarf.
He's the Energizer Dwarf. And you get the sense that the blue light, the entire time that you have seen it, has been Lazda's energy getting sucked out from him up through the third floor, through the second floor, through the first floor, up to the very top of Gauntlet. And that his pain has fueled the attacks on Otari.
So if we really did the math, what you're telling me, so what Trill's starting to figure out.
If I do the math, if we went back, when Lazda maybe finally gets his senses back, it wouldn't surprise me if the Gauntlet started glowing after Lazda disappeared.
You know from your conversations with Brelda Vankervale that Lazda disappeared around a year ago. And the light at Gauntlet started shining just about 1 month ago.
It took that long for the energy to build up.
So some of it was just fun tapping of his soul, and then eventually, it's like when you're learning how to make a potato into a battery. You spend 11 months trying, and then
1 month with a potato battery.
that's right. It's the old. That's how the saying goes. Get a
Yeah.
potato.
The best month of your life.
Get a potato.
With a
Best
potato
month
batter.
of your life. It's so nice to finally find the episode title.
Right under the wire.
So Azrene's just been experimenting on him for the last year. Oh, I hate him even more.
Truly, what a monster. I'm so glad you were able to finish him off, Trill. That would be...
Oh, I wish I used more acid.
Me too. Perhaps we should get him back to his family and make sure Ao is all right as well.
And as you reach towards Lazda Vankervale, this dwarf with a thick red beard, his eyes snap open, and he says, "Who are you?" And we'll pick up from there next time.
I got nothing. I'm so overwhelmed.
It's a lot. A lot has happened.
The Roots of Ruin is a Tabletop Gold production, produced under the Paizo Incorporated Community Use Policy. The Roots of Ruin uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Inc., used under Paizo's Community Use Policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. Paizo does not recognize, endorse, or sponsor this project in any way. Original characters and content are the property of Tabletop Gold. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. We at Tabletop Gold would love to hear from you. Email us at letters@tabletopgold.com and find all our social links at tabletopgold.com.